Am I nervous? I'm out of practice, that's all. I'm just out of practice. Okay. Video. Hi. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I returned to you today with a craft project. I felt like doing some experimentation today, and I thought I would share the process with you because I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know what's going to happen. Today, I am going to be playing with Jesmonite. I first came into contact with Jesmonite when I attended a workshop, and the workshop was to make concrete plant holders. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a concrete plant holder. And I showed up and I was astonished to discover that we were neither working with concrete nor making plant holders. And then I went to another workshop that readily advertised that it was going to be Jesmonite. And between those two workshops, I was able to make some pieces of shit. They're not pieces of shit. They're not pieces of shit. They're, you know how you feel about your first project, trying a new technique, trying things out. They didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted them to, but I could definitely see the potential with this Jesmonite stuff. And so I was really inspired to get some for myself and take it home and do some potentially cool shit with it, which is what we're going to do today. This was the first thing I made out of Jesmonite. This was that first workshop I attended. This was my first experience with Jesmonite, and it is, how to describe it? It is smooth, it is sort of cool to the touch, it is rock hard, and it's kind of lightweight. So it's almost like a plaster, but again, very lightweight, not like a ceramic or a porcelain that has a lot of weight to it. It's somewhere between plaster and plastic, I guess. But the cool thing about Jesmonite is it is not toxic. It is not nearly as toxic as something, say, resin, which I tried to play around with before and made a huge fucking mess. This was a lot more user-friendly. You could do it inside. You didn't have to worry about crazy fumes. You didn't have to wear like a mask and protective eyewear, which, I don't know. I guess you could. Maybe you should. Maybe I should have. I did not. But I made this thing, and as you can see, I tried to make it look like blood drips. Is that obvious? It kind of came out with a neat looking sort of tie-dye batik vibe going on, but it didn't turn out exactly as I wanted. At that same workshop, I also made a coaster. But I can't show it to you because I decided to test its durability on stream last week and I snapped it in half. But it's like, oh, I was going to say it's fucking unbreakable. I broke it. Anyway, the second workshop went a little bit better. She had a bit more interesting molds. This is a trinket tray, I guess, and this project was to demonstrate a technique with this same Jesmonite where it looks like sort of mosaic type thing. What we did was we mixed two batches of Jesmonite. One, I made a very thin layer of black, and then I scrunched it all up to make these chips. And then I mixed it with this mint green, poured it into the mold, and sanded it down in order to get the chips to really show through. Maybe I should have sanded it longer. Maybe that's why I've got this this patch that looks really clear and the rest of it looks really muddy. Also, like, I don't know what I expected this colorway to look like in the end, but it looks like mint chocolate chip ice cream, which wasn't really what I was going for. I can say though that this thing is actually kind of useful. It's I keep it by my front door and I keep my sunglasses on it. It's the perfect size for a pair of sunglasses. You could stick your keys, whatever. And once again, like, this is a little bit bigger than this. It's got a reasonable weight to it such that it's not like flimsy and crappy. And then there was this thing. Again, this was supposed to be an item to demonstrate another technique with Jesmonite, which is instead of using terrazzo, instead of mixing the colors that way, this was supposed to be swirly. So this one, I mixed a little bit of swampy green with the Jesmonite, and I was hoping it would create a swirl throughout, but what resulted is you can barely see the swirl. What you can see doesn't look green, it just looks dirty. And yeah, also I'm not super enamored with this mold. I think she called it a coaster, but I was like, that is worthy of putting out cigarette butts. And it's hardy enough that that it lives outside. And so it's an ashtray, I guess. Anyway, all this to say, I could see a lot of potential with Jesmonite because it was so user-friendly, because it was so simple, and I knew that I had a lot of interesting molds at home and different techniques that I wanted to try with it, so I bought some for myself. So here is the stuff that I bought, and you can buy this stuff off of madmaker.ca, M-A-D-M-A-Y, maker.ca, and it was really exciting to me to hear that that they had a Canadian retailer, because oftentimes ordering something that's heavy, ordering something with fluids can be a big shipping headache. But I purchased this kind of, it's not exactly a starter pack. They do make a starter pack for Jesmonite that includes like gloves and mixing stuff and like a sampler pack of all the different pigments you can add to it. I probably should have done that, but I was like, no, I'm just give me the stuff. I have the rest of it. So this is the base, which is a powder, and then this is the liquid that you mix in with it, and you mix this at a ratio of 2.5 to 1. I believe, but from what I understand from other artisans fucking around with this, is it's very forgiving. If you use more liquid, it'll just be a little bit more viscous and not be the end of the world. That said, I have heard some horror stories about Jesmonite not setting properly, turning into a chalky mess. Stuff could go wrong, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as temperamental as resin, which I played with once before, and you know, I made a thing. It's fine. I used a little bit of mica pigment to try to make it smoky. I was experimenting with it, but like that stuff is so toxic. The fumes, it's messy, it's chemical. I didn't much care for it. So I have high hopes for this stuff. This batch of AC 100. If you go to the website, you'll see that there's a couple of different versions, AC 100, 200, 300. My impression that I got from the website is that for the casual crafter using small batch stuff, AC 100 is appropriate for that, and AC 300, you can buy it in these giant jugs, and you can do like just about any kind of like industrial grade casting, like stuff that is appropriate for outdoors, appropriate like to be water safe, fire safe, all this shit. It gets pretty fucking hardcore. But the impression that I got was AC 100 would be appropriate for indoor crafting, fine for what it is I wanted it to do, and I guess we'll find out. I also did purchase 1 bag of pigment. This is black pigment. If you mix it and pour it as is, it comes out like opaque white, which is kind of a drag. I think the one really great thing about resin is that in its pure form, it is this kind of clear, translucent. You can embed things in. You can embed things in Jesmonite too, but it comes out opaque. You can add black, but I think I'm just gonna mess with it in its purest form today. And I do have a collection of silicone molds that I think are just a little bit more interesting to me than something like this. This is a square thing. I guess it's for a coaster. I have this thing that I got for when I was playing with resin, and these are just like settings to make pendants or whatever, and they have like a little sticky bit right there so that you can put a jump ring and make it into a hanging whatever the fuck. I have these shapes, I have these shapes to play with, and most exciting of all to me, this one's fun. This is a coffin mold, and then it comes with a lid. this is what I used to make this thing out of resin. It didn't exactly, the edges along the bottom are like razor sharp. I guess I could sand them down or something. The lid didn't turn out at all. There was like a couple of air bubbles in the corner of the lid, and so it was just like a razor sharp giant safety hazard. I kept this. I keep my scented oils in it beside my bed for my diffuser. How basic is that? But I think I could make something really cool with Jesmonite using this. But I think I'm going to start by making a really small batch using these really tiny molds and try different techniques. I think what really captured me about Jesmonite was this business right here with this terrazzo. So like I said, what we did was we used a very diluted, pigmented batch. Just poured it out really, really thin, waited for it to dry, crumbled it up into little bits, and then mixed it with another batch of Jesmonite. What I've seen online, if you go onto Pinterest or Instagram and see what people are doing with Jesmonite, they're doing really cool things. They're all using this fucking mold, by the way. Everyone and their dog are making trinket trays out of Jesmonite. It's like, there are other molds out there, yo. Anyway, people are doing really cool shit where they're doing half Jesmonite and half resin. So there's a little bit of clear, using gold foil sheets, which I actually have. Maybe I'll dick around with that as well. But what was especially exciting to me were people who were embedding things like seashells, which were giving a really, really beautiful pearlescent chunks within their stuff. And then I also saw that you could use ground glass, and that was exciting to me because I happen to have a whole bunch of small glass pieces because I started fucking around with stained glass. I bought glass sheets, I cut out pieces for a stained glass project. I just need to grind them and do all the taping and soldering. I haven't gotten around to it yet because spring refuses to come and I just haven't been able to go outside and really make a mess. So I've got these glass bits and I've spent a little bit of time cutting them, shaping them into various sizes and shapes. These are pretty big pieces compared to what I was seeing online, obviously bigger than the little like chips used to make this terrazzo thing, but I don't know, it could still work. I think it could make really interesting stained glassy looking pieces if I just like put the glass into the molds and then pour the Jesmonite over it. I don't know. We're gonna try it. We're gonna see what happens. And another thing I had was I had these like plastic gold plates. I use them on my dinner table as like place settings. Like I'll have the placemat, I'll have this. It's not food safe. It's not supposed to like have food right on it, but I put my black plate on top of this and it would just be, I don't know, pretty. Anyway, I broke this one, smashed it, and so I cut the broken piece into little tiny shapes. And again, I don't know if Jesmonite will stick to this. This is like fucking up my lighting. I don't know if this will fuck up the Jesmonite casting process. I don't know if Jesmonite will bond to anything as well as it bonds to itself, to glass, to seashells, but I'm gonna fuck around and find out. And I was delighted to find out that like, you know, I've got all these like little gold mirror pieces. On the other side, they're black. So I'm eager to play with that and see how that works out. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. No problem. This is all an experiment. So let's see